Hello, it's Hope from Phoenix Rising. I hope you all are having a good day. And I was just about to do my therapy for the week. Art is my therapy. It helps me cope with my reality. And I thought, what's a better time to talk about abuse than when you're doing something therapeutic. Just kind of helps get it all out and keeps you tranquil while doing it. And abuse is such a heavy subject, but it is something that this channel is about. Whether you be man, woman, child, whether it be your partner or a friend or a parent abusing you, I'm hoping to educate people on abuse. So one of the first things I would like to talk about on this channel is the different types of abuse. I am in a support group for abuse. I have a history with it, and one of the things that shocks me a lot is the question is, hey guys, I don't know if this is abuse. Can you provide some insight? And usually they describe a situation, and 9 times out of 10 is yes, it definitely sounds like a form of abuse. Abuse does not have to be physical. So first, let me stop bunny trailing. So first, I kind of want to go over what an abusive or a toxic relationship is. And an abusive or a toxic relationship is defined as a relationship in which one or both parties displays aggressive, controlling, negative behaviors, or threatening behaviors, or harmful behaviors. Toxic relationships are full of all kinds of abuse, and not just physical. And a lot of people aren't aware that abuse is not just, oh, he yells at her a lot, or oh, he hits her. There are many forms of abuse, and physical abuse and emotional yelling, screaming, and stuff like that. Those are just 2 examples of abuse. Before we go any further, hit that like and subscribe button, and share, of course, if you like the video at the end. And for more information on abuse and how to cope with it, and what to do if you're in an abusive situation. So continuing on, toxic relationships. Once again, not just physical abuse. There are multiple forms of abuse, and again, physical abuse is the first one, and that one is the most obvious. Whether that be biting, punching, scratching, pinching, pushing, pulling hair. From my own mother's experience, her ex-husband long time ago had put nails, the pointy ends, out at the bottom of the vacuum cleaner, and would chase her around the house with this nail spiked vacuum cleaner. So if any of that is going on, that is a dangerous situation. And you are obviously in a dangerous situation. The thing about physical abuse relationships is it's not just going to be once or twice, and it's not going to stay the same level. Once someone has laid their hands on you and you've allowed them to get away with it, generally it's going to turn into a repetitive behavior, and it's going to escalate. Again, from my own mother's personal experience, it started out as little things, pinching, shoving, grabbing, and then it escalated to her being thrown off of a 3rd floor apartment balcony. Okay, so yeah, physical aggressiveness, physical behavior in a relationship is definitely abuse. If it's happened once, it's happened one too many times, and you should not be there. Okay, the next form of abuse that we'll go over is mental abuse. And and mental abuse is not just screaming and yelling and saying mean things. Mental abuse is a programming system. Once a person has been told something so many times in their life they're going to start to believe it whether they know it's true or not. Eventually, if one person, especially somebody that you care about or you're close to or look up to, tells you that you're worthless, you're ugly, you're fat, you're you're useless, you know, blah blah blah. Once you get told that so many times, you eventually start to believe it, and it breaks down in your mind. It's human psychology. You know, a perfectly a confident person can post a photo on Facebook, right? And this person's beautiful, and they can have 100 comments. They can have, 100 people say, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing." And one person can say, "Oh my gosh, your ears are big. You look like a gorilla," whatever, something stupid. And that is the one comment that a person will fixate on. It has been proven that a negative it has 10 times the effect on someone's mental health as a positive comment. So every negative comment that you're told on a daily, from the same person over and over and over again, eventually you're going to start believing it, and you're not even going to realize you're doing it. It's going to be a subconscious thing that happens to you, and all of a sudden you're going to be going, what the hell? Yeah, I'm worthless, or yeah, I'm ugly, or yeah, I'm fat, or yeah, I'm disgusting. Oops, it's alright, it was meant to be. You're gonna eventually start feeling these things, and it's quite a shame, that people can do this to other people, but it's true. It's quite, it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take very long to basically brainwash somebody into believing these things that are being said about it. So that's that. So, and then the next one is verbal and emotional abuse. Verbal and emotional abuse are pretty typical in most toxic or abusive relationships. Verbal and mental abuse is basically, it goes hand in hand with mental abuse, and they coincide with each other. Your partner says hurtful things to you on a regular basis, and it's and it's repetitive. Also examples of screaming and shouting and being belligerent and using aggressiveness to intimidate another person. Threats, online media, when someone goes on Facebook and makes accusations or says things about you that aren't true or whatever. This is all a form of mental abuse. It's meant to break a person down, and it can, and it will. Sexual abuse, another obvious one. I would think that I wouldn't have to go into this, but you would be surprised how many women are sexually abused in their relationships, and they're not realizing that they're being sexually abused. Yeah, it's kind of horrible, but any kind of sexual deed that you don't want, that is forced, that you're made to feel obligated to do or forced upon you, is sexual abuse. Just because you consent doesn't mean you're not being sexually abused. If your partner knows you don't like anal and it hurts you, but they insist on it anyway, and they guilt you into it, and they say, if you love me or whatever, if they make you feel guilty and then eventually you concede, that is a form of sexual abuse. And it happens. You are not obligated to do any kind of sexual favors for anybody, ever. So don't think that just because they're your partner or they're your husband or whatever, that you have to do these things that you don't like and that they know that you don't like. Here's one that a lot of people don't know about, and that is financial abuse. Yes, financial abuse is a thing, and so a good example of financial abuse is actually something that I went through. My ex-husband actually was from another country, and we were planning on going there. Well, he lived here in America with me and my family for, I'd say, about 4.5 years of our 7-year relationship, and while he was here, he was offered work under the table, cash, whatever, just to help me because I was going to college and I was working full-time trying to save up money for the marriage visa to get me over there. And he would refuse to work. Basically, it was a 4.5-year vacation where he would stay up all night playing video games on the computer and then would sleep all day. And then when we got to his country of residence, he refused to take me to interviews, and he refused to pay for college or trade school because I needed to get a job to support my own education type thing. But he would refuse to take me to interviews or anything. So that is an example of financial abuse. If they control your money, or if they control what you can do, or if they mooch off of you, they are financially abusing you. Digital abuse. Again, the social media. I hate social media. I think social media is the devil, and if I didn't need it for my business, I would not have it. I really wouldn't, because it just brings the ugly out in people, and it's just another way for people to be ugly to each other. Digital abuse is very much a thing. People who use online emotional abuse as a way to intimidate, threaten, bully, harass you, stalk you, anything, if it's posted publicly or messaged in a private setting, regardless. If someone is using cyber activity to threaten you or harass you or whatever, you are being digitally abused. Stalking is also a form of abuse. Don't think I gotta go too much into that one, but it is scary, and it is, we all know about stalking, but to be honest with you, it's the stalkers that you don't worry about that are scary, because usually they're the ones that escalate. It can start out with small things, but then, eventually it escalates and, bad things happen. So those are some different kinds of abuse. But, if you are, I'm hoping that as I was going through this, that you were thinking back to your situation and thinking about how many times, something sounded familiar to you and how many times it's happened. Because here's the thing, with all these types of abuses, the abuser generally are always very apologetic when it's all done and said, and they love you and blah 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 blah. But apologies without change and apologies with repetition, it's no longer a mistake. It's no longer, like a oops, I did it again. No, it's a behavior, and it's an abusive behavior, because especially if it's something that you've talked numerous times about, it is an abusive behavior. So one thing to note is, and this is quoted from a professional, a toxic individual behaves the way that he or she does essentially for one main reason. He or she must be in complete control and must have all the power in his or her relationship. Power sharing does not occur in any significant way in a toxic or abusive relationship, and while power struggles are normal in any relationship, particularly in the early stages, toxic relationships are characterized by one partner absolutely insisting on being in control. Keep in mind the methods used by such an individual to control his or her partner in a toxic relationship may or may not be readily apparent even to their partner. And I can contest to that, because I did not realize that my ex-husband was abusing me until my mom basically had to get a purple Crayola crayon and spell it out for me. Like, you are an abuse victim. And like, when I finally acknowledged it, I lost it. And it's a hard fact to deal with, especially if you're a very independent, stubborn person like I am. The idea that you may be being abused may be horrifying to you, because you've never viewed yourself as a victim, or you never felt like that would ever happen, or you know, and that's hard. But think back, and, you know, it can be a raw emotion, but you need to go through it, because that's the only way you're going to be able to face it and be able to decide what to do so that you can get out of your situation. And, you know, it's important. You're important. Everyone is important, and no one deserves to wake up in the morning feeling like there is just a crushing weight on their chest, and what kind of trauma are they going to have to deal with today, or, you know, what have you. There's absolutely no reason for anybody to ever have to feel that way. So going through those types of abuse, and I do have a more in-depth, detailed video, a blog article about the different kinds of abuses that goes into more detail. I will put that below in the description, that link for that. So if you have questions or you want a little bit more clarification about a certain type of abuse, you can go ahead and click on that link. I also have linked resources for people who can help in that article. Yeah, just whatever you've learned, I hope you've taken something positive from it. Take some time to absorb, digest, think back, look for these behaviors that I may have mentioned in the future, you know, in future conversations, whether that be today or tomorrow or whenever. And, you know, pay attention. Get an idea. Are you being abused? You know, and if you are, in what way are you being abused? And can it be rectified? Do you think you can have an open, honest conversation with this person you feel like is abusing you? Or would that not be safe? You know your situation. And if you're just watching this video, it's probably just because you need to hear somebody else say it. You need to hear somebody tell you that you're being abused, and this is how you're being abused. And if that's all you need, then I hope that I provided it for you. Keep an eye out for future videos. I will have videos talking about these particular types of abuses in more detail and depth. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good night.